In the heart of a small town in eastern Nigeria, there lived a girl named Edeora. Her story was the kind you'd only believe if you heard it firsthand. A tale so strange, so haunting, yet painfully human. Edeora was once the pride of her family, a bright, beautiful girl raised in the warmth of a humble Christian home. She sang in the church choir, always the one people whispered about, saying, asterisk, that one is different. She's destined for great things. Asterisk. But life has a way of reshaping destinies. When Edeora gained admission to university in the bustling city of Enugu, it was as though the world cracked open before her. The city was alive with bright lights, endless parties, and a freedom she had never known. At first, she clung to her old ways, attending fellowship, calling her mother every evening. But slowly, the city's pulse drowned out the quiet voice of home. It started with late-night outings with her roommate, Kamsi, who introduced her to a new world of wild nights, strange men, and dangerous choices. Edeora, eager to fit in, slipped deeper into this life, one mistake at a time. She told herself it was harmless fun, just a phase. But the phase stretched on, and soon, the innocent church girl was no longer recognizable. Months blurred into years. She fell for a man named Jide, a charming final-year student who promised her love, loyalty, and protection. But Jide was a ghost, a man with too many secrets and too many lies. One rainy night, after a party that spiraled out of control, Edeora woke up in a stranger's room with no memory of how she got there. Weeks later, the symptoms came: nausea, dizziness, and missed periods. Terrified, she visited a small clinic off-campus. What the doctor told her made her stomach twist. Edeora, you're pregnant. Tears stung her eyes. Pregnant. But she had no idea by who. Was it Jide? One of those drunken mistakes. Fear choked her. Her parents would disown her. The church would cast her out. The shame would swallow her whole. But the strangest part wasn't the pregnancy. It was what came after. Months later, as the pregnancy progressed unusually fast, Edeora isolated herself. Her belly grew beyond what was normal, and whispers filled the air. People avoided her, old friends stopped calling, even Kamsi moved out. At 7 months, she went into labor, alone in her tiny room. The pain was unbearable, the night thick with an eerie, suffocating silence. And then it happened. 12 cries. Tiny, fragile, beautiful, filled the air. 12 babies. 12. She stared at them, disbelief and terror mixing in her chest. Who could she call? Who would believe her? How could this be possible? Edeora, shaking, picked up the first baby, her heart pounding. I'll figure this out, she whispered, though she had no idea how. And so began the most impossible chapter of her life. The sun had barely risen when the news spread like wildfire. The girl with the 12 babies. Neighbors gathered outside Edeora's one-room apartment, murmuring prayers, disbelief, and suspicion. Some swore it was witchcraft, others blamed the devil, while the older women shook their heads, whispering that the girl must have crossed paths with spirits from the other side. Edeora, weak and pale, clung to her babies, wrapping them in old cloths and her few dresses. The room reeked of blood, sweat, and desperation. She had no money, no food, no help, just 12 helpless lives now tied to hers. In her heart, shame burned hotter than fear. How had she fallen so far? What would her mother say? What would the world do to a girl like her? Now a walking scandal, a mystery no one could explain. The authorities came. The hospital sent an ambulance, and Edeora was taken in with the tiny babies, each one astonishingly healthy. Doctors called it a miracle, though they couldn't explain how it had happened. No one had ever seen anything like it. She was questioned endlessly by police, church elders, social workers. The same question over and over. Who is the father? But Edeora had no answer. Not one she could say aloud. Then came the night that changed everything. A man appeared at the hospital. Tall, dark-skinned, with gentle eyes that carried a quiet sadness. His name was Chuka. He was a medical volunteer, a young doctor from a nearby town. When he saw Edeora and the babies, something in him softened. He didn't ask about the father. He didn't accuse her of sin or shame. Instead, he brought baby formula, warm blankets, and sat with her when no one else would. Edeora eyed him cautiously at first, mistrusting every kindness. In her world, kindness always came with a price. But Chuka was different. "I don't know what happened to you," he said one evening, watching her feed the smallest baby, "but you're stronger than you think." Those words settled inside her like a flicker of light. Weeks passed. The media lost interest, the doctors stopped their tests, and the church washed its hands of the scandal. Edeora was left alone again, but not entirely. Chuka stayed. He helped her find a tiny abandoned house at the edge of town. He taught her how to care for the babies, helped secure donations, and fought off those who came to mock or threaten her. One night, as the town slept and the children lay quietly in makeshift cribs, Edeora sat outside under a full moon. Chuka joined her, bringing 2 cups of hot tea. "I should have died," she whispered, eyes glistening. "But you didn't," he replied softly. "You lived. And you brought life with you." For the first time in months, Edeora smiled. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope after all. Seasons changed. What once felt like a nightmare slowly took the shape of a strange, tender life. Edeora, with the help of Chuka, built a routine. The 12 babies, each with a unique mark or feature. One with a birthmark shaped like a star, another with eyes as light as morning skies, began to thrive. Their cries became laughter, and their fragile bodies grew strong under Edeora's fierce, protective care. The town, though still wary, grew used to the sight of the young woman with her dozen children. Some would stop by to drop off old clothes or food. Others would leave quietly, too ashamed of their past cruelty. Edeora learned to walk with her head high. Her past no longer a chain but a memory she had survived. Chuka remained by her side. What started as kindness grew into something deeper, an unspoken bond forged in nights of exhaustion, in shared smiles over tiny milestones, a baby's first word, a lopsided crawl. He admired her strength, her resilience, and the love that burned in her for those children, though the world had given her every reason to give up. One evening, under the ancient Udala tree near the house, Chuka finally spoke what his eyes had long said. "Edeora, I didn't just stay because of them," he said, glancing towards the house where the children played. "I stayed because of you." Edeora's heart pounded. No one had spoken to her like that in years. She looked away, unsure if it was shame or fear or hope she was feeling. "I thought my life was over," she said quietly. "Who would want a woman like me? 12 children, and a past like mine." "I would," Chuka replied, reaching for her hand. "Not because you need saving, because you've already saved yourself. And because I see the woman you've become." Tears welled in her eyes. For so long she had only seen the wreckage of her past, the mistakes, the shame. But here was a man who saw her differently, who didn't flinch at the weight of her story. Under the starlit sky, Edeora smiled. It wasn't the nervous, uncertain smile she'd worn before. It was a real, blooming, fearless thing. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. It never was. But she also knew now that she wasn't alone. The following year, Edeora opened a small daycare center in town, with Chuka by her side. They named it Hope's Haven, a place for young, struggling mothers and orphan children. People traveled from nearby villages to see the woman who gave birth to 12 and turned her pain into purpose. The whispers changed. No longer was she the girl cursed by spirits or stained by sin. She was Edeora, mother, survivor, leader, and soon Chuka's wife. In the end, love didn't erase her past. It honored it. And Edeora's story, once a tale of shame, became one of strength, of forgiveness, and of unbreakable, fearless hope.